Missing three,
Not Thursday, but I wasn't.
There's no flag. Oh, yeah, there is. On the table.
We have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's meeting will be videotaped by Mike Hawley and audiotaped by the borough. We're going to go to public comment, but I want to make one comment about the public comment. This is your only time to speak. You're not going to get up during the meeting and ask to speak again. So whatever you have to say, this is what it's going to be. So we'll take public comment now.
I'll get up. I gave you a letter. I would like to ask Larry Edwards, pastor of Grace Brethren Church. We've been doing a 5K race for the last 5-6 years, and we'd like to have permission again to do that. We always try to do it around September 11th in honor of 9/11, and we just want to ask permission, not take it for granted.
I see no problem about you have it every year. It's never been a problem.
Thank you. It takes months of preparation.
Yeah.
So.
And as soon as you get a solid date, make sure we know. So
September 14th.
September, so we can get the police protection.
Did you get one of these, Clint?
Yes, it is.
State your name.
Patty Colberg, West Avenue. I was talking about the ordinances last week, and I'm reading here, and you brought back to mind here the fact that Oliver obtained Billboard permits, and PennDOT said that all his permits were good. I was going through the permits that I'd acquired, and I noticed that he never did an on-site inspection of what was there. We had a laser reading done from my neighbor Harold McElhatton's house. From his porch, it's like 140 yards. From ours, there's pretty much just a little, like 100 and, I'm not even real sure of the numbers right now, I have them at home. But I think there's to be a 500-yard distance between the houses and what is going on. So if he did an inspection on this, I don't agree with PennDOT. I think there's something fishy going on here, and I think it needs to be investigated. I got another email from, I've been in contact with Marty Griffin from Channel 2 News. He wanted me to send more pictures, which I did this afternoon, and he said he's anxious to get working on this. So I don't know where it's going to go from there, but we are still pursuing.
That's a good step.
Yeah.
We are, but I can't see, if this man did, if these permits are legal, there was not an on-site inspection. And I still think there's something wrong there. So we're going to see. I'm tired of calling PennDOT and being put on, call you back. So I'm thinking if we don't go any further from here, I'm just going to send a letter to the Secretary of Transportation or whatever group I have to. I'm going higher because I'm getting nowhere with on the ground. And they want to give me the guy that's supposed to be doing the inspections, and I won't even talk to him because he also told me there was nothing wrong with them. I spoke to him.
Is that the guy from Indiana?
McCrum.
Yeah.
He said that
Yeah,
he said everything is legal. How does he know if everything is legal? You go through the paperwork and you see he didn't even do an on-site inspection. So I don't know, but we're still working on it.
Yeah, just a comment on that. I know I've told you I've talked to that Crum in Indiana, and it was just like, you know, I was a bother to him. He didn't,
That's odd, because everyone I've talked to from Indiana has been most helpful, but I've never talked to him.
yeah, he
Basically, that's what I got. It was
just seemed
like,
like it
everything's
was,
okay.
he didn't want to get involved. He didn't want to answer any questions.
Well, I'm gonna wait and see what Marty Griffin comes up with, and then we're gonna start going up the ladder, because I'm getting tired of it.
Because actually, the day I called him, he didn't seem like he was very helpful, so I just told him, I said, how about giving me the permit number, I'll just submit a right to know request for all the information. He gave me the number, and I passed that on to Patty.
Good.
Yeah. So I've been going through the Pennsylvania Beautification Act papers, but that's like, I don't know, that's like reading a foreign language. You don't, they give you a bunch of terms to refer back to, but I don't know. So we're still working on it. Thanks for your help.
But just to touch on that again, she also told me that she was in touch with, from Channel 2,
Yeah, Marty Griffin, yeah.
And I told her that was probably one of the best things she could do.
Well,
Because
Seems to get results.
and it's on TV, then advertisers think twice about advertising.
well, this has been going on. I've been communicating with him for 4 months, and I was getting frustrated because I keep giving him my phone number, wanting to talk to the man, and he wants me to email. Well, I just got a texting phone, so you know how behind I am. So I'm learning as I'm going along too, so
Smart if you don't even have
we're working at it.
Yes.
I don't, Ruth Anderson from Hoover Street. I don't know if anyone else notices, but that first light at that first, what's that shopping center, the first one you come to, and then the second,
Walmart.
the Walmart, it lets 3 cars through, and if you have a truck,
That's an East Franklin town.
Yeah, that's East Franklin Township.
That's another PennDOT issue.
Talk to that cop
Well, he
stand.
works East Franklin sometimes.
Not anymore.
Talk back there.
okay.
Maybe you can check on that.
Yeah, the West Canyons line is right at the bottom of the hill by the beauty salon.
Okay.
We don't put a Walmart
I mean, the line gets long.
That's-
Certain times. It's back down the road.
Michael Hawley, Butler Road. I'd like to know, I know I presented 2 years ago about, I call it now the weed garden on the opposite side of my business. Is the borough gonna start mowing that?
We actually I did, and Eddie talked to the guy. I haven't got a chance to get back down and see him because I've been working late, about, they have an agility program, right? And we were offering to take care of that, mow that over there, if they would come up with their street sweeper and do our streets. Eddie talked to him, Eddie went over with them, and
He said he'd get back in touch, but I haven't heard nothing.
and I haven't heard anything back from him either. Friday, I have a half day, so I will stop at PennDOT on my way home and see what's going on.
You remember that is, they passed that on to the borough, that property.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, remember the culvert issue even, with underneath, yous are responsible for that, and I brought that to borough attention as well.
Not,
And Cliff,
not according
you-
to them, we have nothing in it.
Because Cliff, at the time when he was president, he,
Yeah, I had multiple conversations with them concerning that, and
We
they're
are responsible.
responsible for the culvert underneath that, and then from there, it's our responsibility. It wouldn't hurt to follow up, just to make sure. It'd be nice to get it in writing, not just verbal.
Yeah. Well, I will Friday, I'll stop
Okay.
on my way home.
well, you want to make sure you know that we are responsible. Please look into that, for that culvert issue with that new culvert under there. Because I don't know if anyone's been under to check it out, to make sure any debris, any hung up or anything, because that's what caused that major flooding back in '01 or '02. And, you know, with the backflush from down below, but, you know, with that long expansion now, I think we should be checking into that.
There's, well, I'll talk about that later. Another concern I have, that the fellow was up with Eddie, told him that that's something on down the road. Any other public comment?
Mickey Lang, Garfield Street. I just want to say that our Memorial Day service last Monday was very nice. We had a nice turnout.
And we did.
That was very nice, Mickey. And I thought Bertie did an exceptional job.
Yeah, and he really impressed me by talking about the people on the wall.
Naming people and made it really personal and special to people that were there, you know, instead of just talking about general things. I did send him a note of thank you and a picture.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Commend you too. You do a good job on that.
Thank you.
Any more public comment? Not, then we'll move on to motion to accept the previous minutes, last month's minutes.
Make a motion to accept the previous month's minutes.
Any questions on the motion? Second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, move on to mayor's report.
Paul, you want to come up here and read this? I got to April and May's. People may have questions about that stuff. For the April report, there were 38 citations on traffic, 11 warnings, one summary offense for the criminal disorderly conduct, habitual offender driving operations, and 3 code violation investigations. We put on here a special note for the warm weather projects are in progress with construction and mowing. The residents need to be aware and make the following detours that are necessary that are placed out. For the May report, there were 42 traffic citations, 9 warnings, 2 disorderly conducts, 1 DUI, 1 endangering the welfare of children, and 4 code investigations. For our public notice, it's the department will be receiving complaints from the public in the adopted form. The citizen complaint form was adopted through the Borough Council and allows for the department to have complete investigations and information in the event that investigations yield charges. Those individuals who will be noted as victim or complainant may be needed as part to appear in any court proceedings that exist. If council wishes to take the information and fill out the form, that they need to make the appropriate appearance in court also to be the complainant and or victim. These forms include a tracking resolution form that allows follow-up information to be available through the council. The information that comes to us as hearsay and or gossip will be addressed as best we possibly can for comments, and this is done to avoid any improper investigations by police and responses thereof. We have copies of the citizen complaint form that are available up here.
If it's all right with council, what I'd like to do is, for the time being, is just give them to Carly till we get into the new building and we can keep them on file there.
Is this something we want to post on the website?
You can print off.
You can print off? Post it as a PDF.
Yeah. We have a website.
It's still up. You're gonna make a mind up there.
That way.
It's still up.
That's why we have the website.
Well, just for the time being, till his
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
So everybody here in
Yeah, we can
council.
send that to PDF.
I think, hey, Paul, Mr. Gay, Officer Gay, Captain Gay. I think what you're trying to say is anybody that has an issue or a complaint, a four-wheeler, bicycle,
Right.
something like that needs to be written down so you have some kind of basis to study.
Absolutely, because we have to go to court to appear. Fundamentally, we need a victim in any type of criminal activity. So if we have something that is not on view to police, and we need to start an investigation of those actions, we need to have something to go back to as far as appearances that would be necessary in court. Not everybody would be mandated to appear in court once you give information or not, if we can do a follow-up investigation that would allow the police to do all on-view incident or whatever else and make those appearances in court and present the case, then that would be fine. But
So you're
for
saying,
us to be able to go to court and say, you know, we have complaints with regard to actions that are happening, whether it's drugs or improper vehicles or trash or whatever else, that we need to start something and opening, whether it's an ordinance investigation or a criminal investigation or a traffic investigation, we need to have something to be able to come back with. And then with the resolution form that would be attached there, the borough then would be able to have, you know, if, say you came to the borough and asked them for information regarding something, then they would be able to tell you, because we would report that on the resolution form. And, you know, you can kind of have a good trade of information that goes back and forth. Because the difficulty with a lot of things is we just receive bits and pieces of information, and everybody thereafter wonders what happened to it. So this will be able to be something where we can keep track of what happens to it. And if it's a criminal act of some type, then we can go ahead at that point in time and go ahead and investigate further. We have a complaint form we can go back to. Well, this is how this origin was. We received information from this individual. They're giving true and proper information. You know, and anything that we write on the forms, you know, is subject to, you know, state law. At that point in time, it's included in on the form that if you give false information, in other words, to implicate another individual. If you're mad at your neighbor and you say something's going on that's not going on, you can be held liable for criminal charges for trying to get someone else implicated in a crime.
I kind of like this form, just because of the sounds of it. If a person's serious enough to fill the form out,
Sure.
then it's serious enough for you to take the time to investigate.
Yeah, we already adopted that, I think, last year,
Yes.
or year before.
Not to make this any conversation any longer, but it'd be a good time, when you said about the four-wheelers, is it not a Pennsylvania law that unlicensed motor vehicles are not permitted within a municipality streets and alleyways? Because I saw Newcastle, their council has proposed ban on four-wheelers in the borough.
Right.
Isn't there a Pennsylvania law that supersedes that?
Well, there are portions of the law that go for all streets, alleys, and traffic ways that we would have on-view criminal activity of that. So if you have information that say I'm a resident and I have a four-wheeler, you come to the police and go, you know, hey, this guy has a four-wheeler and he's running up and down the alleys and he's doing it between, you know, Saturday morning, or he's doing it, you know, at night or whatever, then we can take the police resources that are necessary and make the changes so that we can address those particular issues. If we have no knowledge of that, it's difficult. I mean, you know, we're not omnipotent. We don't see all and view all things. So,
So we should probably look into an ordinance in Muscatine to ban
the operation.
Unlicensed motor vehicles. Would that not fall?
Well,
No, because these have a license, but not for.
Well, they could be, if they're licensed.
Plowing, yeah.
DCNR plates are different, and their operational conditions are also different, where they can be run from. So, in essence, a DCNR plate, that's the Department of Natural Resources for the state of Pennsylvania, does not necessarily allow them to supersede state law, where you would have a vehicle that is legal to operate, in other words, meets the inspection code, meets the insurance criteria, meets the operational standards on the state, which would be Title 47 of the Vehicle Code. Most of the people that have the DCNR plate have insurance on them, because if they're operating in areas that are allowed, in other words, I load my vehicle up and I take it out to the state game lands or something, and they have an allowance for the operation of that. At that point in time, you know, they have lights, they have insurance, they have a plate on, but they're conditional in their area of response. In other words,
in those areas.
if this is my area, if I go out here, I'm not allowed.
Thank you. Well, I think we need to look at something. We have more and more complaints about dirt bikes and four-wheelers. Now, I have no problem with a four-wheeler that's plowing snow in the wintertime for a resident or a neighbor or a friend. But when you're cowboying through West Tanning, through the alleys at a high rate of speed, no.
I have seen don't know if I mentioned that to you last week or not. Somebody here, dirt bike, no license on it. It's been
Yeah, I saw it
flying
this
up and
weekend.
down the street.
In Alice.
Yeah, no lights, no
Yeah.
lights. It was actually dust, so I didn't even see it.
Yeah, and it's gonna be difficult, and that's why we have the form there. If we can have it written down, then we know times, dates, places that things are happening. It allows us to be more aware, be in tune to where things are gonna be going on. If you know that a person that operates is at a certain location, they leave this location, come back to this location, whether it's a residence or a friend's house or what have you, then, you know, we can be aware of where they're coming and going. If we hear them out because, you know, you're operating in the summertime with the window down or something, you may be able to hear them and know that you can go to a certain area and catch up to someone. If you're, you know, the best thing to do is just try to give as much public notice out to everybody so that those people who, you know, are trying their, you know, they have a four-wheeler of some type or motorcycle and they're trying to, you know, comply with everything or whatever else, it doesn't make them fall in that same area where, you know, they're under strict enforcement, you know, until the point that where they just continue to violate it without provocation.
And again, Bob, I was gonna wait and bring this up later, but seeing as how you're doing a perfect job of explaining stuff, I found a tool that I think would be probably beneficial for you to use, and I was wondering if you were familiar with it, and would you recommend it? If you could, explain it if you're aware about it. It's a violation on minimum fines, bikes, dogs.
I'll just walk around here so you can see it.
Have you used that before, Bob?
Yeah, this particular ordinance violation notice comes in and of itself with fines that are attached on a minimum basis. In other words, you can adopt into your codes that you would like an enforcement fines and violations at a minimum standard before issuance of the maximum standard that would go out.
So say if somebody has their dog untied and runs through the neighbor's yard several times, you want to go up and talk to them and give them a warning. The second time, you just give them a $25 fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that true?
And basically, it comes, you know, in and of itself with a mailer. The notice is there. Whenever they're in the book, they're in like this. So when you write on them, it prints through to the other side. We have a permanent copy that stays with us. Then the violation can be placed in the envelope. It's self-addressed and stamped. It can be placed on the back and sent it back where we can have a drop box at the municipal building at that point in time where people that are paying, it'll be like paying a traffic ticket, can drop off their fines and violation monies.
Well, what really caught my eye on it, and if you could, I don't know, briefly read off some of the violations before they have, I mean, on the green tar, is it the same on the cars?
Yeah, both
Okay,
are the same here.
Yeah, I apologize.
In this particular one, it has on there for alcoholic beverage portions, which would cover the underage or possible consumption by minors.
Open container.
Bicycle violations, burning, curfew violations, dog and animal leash law violations, garbage nuisance and rubbish violations, high grass and weed violations, junkyard or junk car ordinance violations, loitering, which I don't believe we have a particular loitering in our code book about that. Noise violations, we do have snow plowing, shoveling of the snow back out into the streets. In other words, in the wintertime we go through and plow, and I know it's difficult because of that, and then everybody gets PO'd and throws all their snow back out in the streets. So at that point in time, it's counterproductive and makes a dangerous situation. And also the solid waste and the scavenging portion, in other words, if you're, you know, leaving trash or you're coming out and you know, you're trying to get into people's properties for the purpose of salvage or things of that nature. So those are some of them, and it has another section down there where you can address any and all portions of it.
Go ahead and give it to the mayor. He can decide what he wants to do with it.
Can we make our own?
Absolutely. That was just a general that I was using. I received information from Fort City Borough, and this is how they found that it was easier because corrections that are made in and of part of codes enforcement now start a different type of an action. So if you give somebody, we put out the orange stickers, everybody's seen those before. We put them on the door, on the glass there. They're in a semi-adhesive form, at which point, you know, they don't damage anybody's doors or glass or whatever, so we have no property issue there. We check off the ordinance violation that's there, so we're giving them a warning or notice if they don't come to answer the door. At that point in time, then we photograph that and keep it as far as trying to be able to keep track of what goes on. From that point in time, then you could issue the violation, you know, in a smaller form here, at which point, you know, they would have to respond to it, and if they fail to do so, that is already a portion of the warning process that goes on. Then the violations anywhere from $100 to $600 set by the court would fall into play. So it gives them an opportunity, you know, you're trying to extend yourself to everybody to make the corrections that are necessary without having to go to legal action. You know, and if necessary, then we start, you know, passing out the fine and violation portions of it.
Because actually right now, when we talk about summertime, I mean, you know, for sure, we gotta watch safety of the kids with the ATVs and things. But lately, there's been a lot of grass violations, 12, 6, 8 inch, you know,
Right.
12 inches high, some sorts, some areas.
Yeah.
You find yourself going back 2, 3 weeks later after you mow it once in the same situation.
Exactly.
At that point, you know, with our standard procedure, you just give them another warning and say, hey, this ain't crap.
Well,
You could actually give them a
exactly.
violation a second time.
Because warning, when we're talking about the issuance of warning, you know, we issue warning either verbally or by the placement of the card on the glass. At that point in time, they know that there's a process that we need to follow, and it's throughout the grass growing portion of the year. We're just talking about grass. So at that point in time, they need to keep in compliant with that function. You've already given warning once, so they know that it's an issue that needs to be addressed. At that point in time, if they're not following, it would be reasonable and prudent for us to be able to present in court the fact that, you know, warning was previously issued for this particular situation, it was rectified, but now it goes back to the same situation, so we issue the card violation.
And that's another document you have for documentation.
Right. And it also goes through, at that point in time, you know, if you continue to do the stuff, and we get into the heavier fines, it doesn't look like we are heavy-handed in the methods that we're trying to use. Right. We're going from $0 to $600. You know, this way we have an opportunity to have people understand, you know, you're getting a slap on the hand with the notice, you're getting a little money out of your pocket with the violation, and if you can't comply and you feel that you're above that portion of it, then you're going to receive the fullest extent of the law.
Right, and I'd like to make it clear that these violations that you're giving out or you're seeing, I mean, they're repeat people. It's not like, it's almost the same people every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're the ones that are typical, the extreme violators.
As a general rule, I'm going to say 95+% of the population that live within the municipality are compliant with the regulations. Everybody's going to have a time or place where they have something that would be within the realm of, you know, where they have a vehicle there or some type of a nuisance or tall grass or whatever. You know, we try not to overjudge the situation. Right. Trying to be reasonable and prudent about what we're doing as far as actuating police action on anything that goes on. This allows us a step-by-step standard to elevate the situation to what concerns would properly address that. So at that point in time, I think you're, you know, if you look at it, and that particular document can be made in any type of form to include any and all, and you guys have a copy of the orange cards on file there that actually list our violation and tells you the code number. So if they have a question about it, they can look up the code, so they can't say, well, I was defenseless against this because I had no reason or no ability to look up that information. It actually lists the code number on there, so that individual could go to that code number and then, you know, look up and see what their portion of the law would apply to them and what the value of that is. So my suggestion, if you're making those, is to include in under that, you know, the code number. You know, if it's number 67 or number 51, number 7, whatever it is, you would include that next to, you know, high grass, nuisance cars, whatever.
And that's something you'd write on, physically write on.
Well,
No, he wants to give a quote.
I'll grab this.
There's so many different descriptions.
Yeah, let me grab one, and it'll be easy.
Do
you want? You want to make a motion then, we adopt this? or-
You know, I wanted his opinion, I'm gonna ask it before he's done, if that's something he uses a lot, if you recommend it, it sounds.
Do we have anything like this in the
No,
past?
no. We've never had anything like that, and like I said, throughout the last month or so, we involved, somebody fell ill, involved went up, called the parents, and we're not, or the kids and stuff, hey, we're not allowed to, the grass is getting high. Then there's a few people that, he had to show again, the same person next time, a week or two later, and that's when this tool.
Hey Bob, where'd you get these made at?
The gentleman that has the print station there, you get off 28 Freeport Road,
Slightly different.
headed south, yeah.
You're actually saying this would go on the door, and next time you
Yeah.
do that, or you put both of these?
Well, it depends on how many times we've been there.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we post these, and if this is for the general public, it shows, warning and violation notice, the West County Borough Police Department. You're receiving notice of a violation of the following, and then there are several blocks to check. Illegally parked vehicle, high grass ordinance number 59.1, prohibited burning, ordinance 71.1, snow removal 164.1, parking and loading zones, walkway obstructions 164.4, dangerous or deficient structures, ordinance 66.1, junk vehicle ordinance 109.1. Those are the most common that we give out for. It also has another section that we can go ahead at that point and list them. So when we place these on the door, it's easy for everybody to see. And at that point in time, we've either spoke to you and handwritten this and handed it to you so you have a copy of it, so that it's out there.
Well, I know these have been in the works for a couple of years now, these stick on adhesive type.
Yeah.
Have you had, what kind of success have you had with it?
As a general rule, I think we've been using them for 2 years now, and it generally generates a fairly good reaction. Doesn't mean that we don't have to continue to go back to the same kind of a thing. I can stick it on a door, don't mow the front yard and leave the backyard. Stick it on a door again, you gotta mow the backyard too. That kind of a thing.
Well, you write this down in what? Your report book?
We
We have a copy of, so
We
the
just
police department
we
has a
actually
copy.
take pictures or we keep a copy of the information that's available there. So we can note that we had to give out the information when we come back. So we're trying to offer people the opportunity, before it comes to a point where we have to step in as a municipality and bear the burden of doing a cleanup or mowing yards or whatever else and put a lien on properties that you may never, if I lived there forever until I died, you may never get the money out of me. That kind of a situation. So we're trying to, prompt people into, being responsible as far as the community goes and fall within the guidelines of the ordinance.
All right, Bob, is this something you would enjoy having as a tool?
Oh, absolutely. It would be, I think it might be effective. I mean, it's something that you guys need to, to go over there and see if there are, issues or whatever else as far as going over the ordinances and see what you would either like to include or delete from there. And, try to keep in mind that, this is not suspected to be a generation of monetary funds for the municipality. In fact, this is the exact opposite. This is the idea to keep a minimal fine that brings people as an order of compliance to the ordinances that are there. It's very, we're looking at it as a more thoughtful measure than giving you a $600 fine to mow your grass.
All right, it's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Does our solicitor have any comment?
I mean, like you said, you need to review, I would review all of the ordinances and see, I don't know if you want to keep all of the ones that are on that sample right there, or add other ones, remove some off of there. That would be up to you. Seems like a lot easier way, and I think you will actually save money, because if you find someone $25, that means, okay, they come into compliance after their fine. That means you didn't have to send someone in there and pay them to mow the grass, and then put a lien, like you said, against the property. Hey, if I don't sell, like you said, until I die, you'll never see that money for however many years. So it just seems like a good idea.
It does seem like like a good idea, and I just wanted your opinion on it.
Well, it's a step measure, like you were saying.
Right.
We're actually just trying to be more considerate to the municipality, you know, to the general public, but still in all, you know, the compliance still has to be reached.
I think that if you have the 2-year history of this working for you, plus you've got a secondary tool, and I don't know if we really have to probably get more response out of these two if we have to take them any further.
Right, and we've turned over information to our solicitor on other ordinance violations that, you know, that were brought to our attention and so forth, that we've had to send out resolution letters and so forth on. And, you know, it ends up being a costly process in and of itself, because if you get no response, and say I'm somebody who is a limited funds, and I get out to the magistrate and I do fall out of compliance, they find me guilty of that, and I have to get onto a payment plan, I may still not correct my action, and still may be, you know, years before the violation ever gets paid for at a minimum amount because of my financial concern.
Right.
So we're trying to prompt people into giving them the idea, hey, you know, you gotta at least make the effort.
Right.
I mean, we feel that that's reasonable and prudent to bring something there, so we don't get it out, you know, where it's going to be completely and totally an act where, you know, we feel that being unreasonable about it goes on.
Okay. Well, you know what, Bob? I don't know if the mayor would like us to do anything with it today. I think that we should table it like our solicitor Andrew exactly.
So my question is, where do we stand on our ordinances? Understand we're looking into them?
We have to review those ordinances again. We go back to the codification company with their recommendations, so we have to go through them and change them to meet our needs and then repost them. And there also are addendums that we need to send in with it to get back.
So before we go into
Yeah,
this, I think we have to,
Yeah, we most definitely do.
someone's gonna have to be busy on the ordinance.
Well, I think historically, we got everything in the book that's covered. The amendments are the ones that we have to amend, are the ones we put in just the last couple of years, the shade tree,
Yeah.
junk car,
Burning.
which absolutely I said nothing about it. It's just pretty much most of them are state, some of them are state, like Bonneville, and so, I mean, as far as the ordinance is concerned, I think we'll be covered. I mean, Andrew can take a better look at it between now and next meeting, but I think most of those on the front page are just typical states that we're just trying to, other than cutting the grass. But it'd just be a tool to use, so.
That's up to council.
Yeah, I'd say table for now. Let's relook through ordinances and get those in line.
He's fine.
Yes, I had a.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
I had a non-resident come to me. She damaged her car up on Southern Ave and to the extent of approximately $1,000. She ran into one of our catch basins up there. She doesn't put a claim in, but she would like for us to mark that somehow, that don't happen again to her.
Which catch basin is it?
In front of Patrick Bowser's place. I looked for a house number, but I couldn't see it. Right on the curve there, on the west side. That little ranch home.
Yeah.
There's a catch basin there.
On Southern?
Summit.
Oh, Southern. I thought you said Southern.
I thought, I thought some, okay, some, okay.
Oh, that's on there. Darker than S anyway.
Oh, okay, I know where you're
Is
talking
it
about.
the one on the right hand or on the right?
Left as you're going up. I'm pretty sure that's the one he's talking about.
Here's the west side.
There's no marking there. One on the opposite side has a couple posts there. No, the one on the west side, that's that side of the street. She's visiting her grandson, and she apparently pulled out, they parked here, she pulled out and ran down into that.
We have markers for that, Ed?
We should.
Okay.
Probably needs to be about that.
She's not, she don't want to sue the board, she don't want the board to pay for it, she just thinks that it should be marked, so she don't do it again, somebody else does. Damage to the vehicle.
Taking the boys up there and look at it, see what can be done. I know which one you're talking about, 'cause I walk up there all the time. And it's deep, and it needs build up, come up and meet the road, somewhere.
Just the one on the house side there.
Right, so be, if you're coming up, going up something, they'd have to make the turn. That's all I have. All right, we're going to committee reports, streets.
Everything's good so far. You know, we got the pipe done, and it did raise up a little bit, but they put some stone in it. That one pipe, but it looks good.
Is it the one down by Sneaker's house?
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah, in my alley, but it's gonna come back out, that gravel that they put on it. Cause that kid across the street parks there.
Yeah, he
And it's
parked
gonna
there
come
and
right back up
messed it
again.
but it may hold it, I don't know.
Just have to keep an eye on it. that's
Yeah,
all.
we just have to keep an eye on it. Yeah, I'd like to call a meeting at the person, back to personnel.
Well, you can, you want an executive session?
Yeah, executive. I didn't know.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I mean, are you done with the street report?
Yeah, well,
He's asking.
Because, I mean, we're going in June. Do you have any idea if we're gonna be paving this year?
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas on what streets?
Well,
I mean, I'm interested.
I want you, the street committee, to get together and decide what streets need to be done.
Well, usually, I mean, you put the report together and we go, okay. I mean,
And then review the streets.
yeah, I think I gave you my opinion up there that day.
I didn't get a chance to see him up.
Because I mean, you probably won't get anybody to bid on it right now.
I think we can. We can try. We can hold this,
What's the street you have in mind?
well, we had Cleveland Street,
Which is a good street.
and then we had the lower part of Cleveland Street. You know, we weren't gonna do the whole thing, but it was just.
You're talking about from football field up?
Yeah. And,
So the entire street, Cleveland above and below the football field?
well, from the football field up to, Southern. And then from,
Hilltop.
the hilltop down to Hooksies. And then we were talking about that one over at the roof plant, so I don't know how much money we have, you know.
Well, historically, we spent around $24,000. Now to get you 2.5 streets, I mean, we just need to get some names, get the guy from the state up there and take a look at it. He's the one that gives us the ballpark figure. But like I said, it's June, we should have it.
Well, we can,
And we're gonna have to look into Nixon. You gotta do something over there where it's washing out.
You're right there along the track?
Yeah, right where the steps.
Yes. Yeah, that's bad.
So you're
I
gonna have,
know, Orchard needs done, but they're, you know, I don't know if they have a water break up there or not. You know, right there near
I thought
those
you looked into
apartments.
that already.
No, that's.
that was
on
Hill Avenue.
Hill Avenue.
Is that in front of the apartments?
Yeah.
I thought Bernie had said in the past that there's some type of spring or some type of
Yeah, he said there's a spring here.
Well, Bernie said that about Hill
Yeah,
Avenue.
he said that about the other one too.
And there was 2 leaks on Hill Avenue.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's been up there since these leaks have been fixed.
Smelling dry.
It's as dry as a bone. Unbelievable.
Well, when we were in that problem there a couple years ago, went up there, but now it's
Take a ride up
resurfaced.
there sometime. I mean, you'd be amazed. I mean, the yard's dry, the road's dry.
Good.
And I mean, this is something that went on for 2 years. And the man was told about it.
Prior to
That's why I
that,
said
because we fixed it once,
Yeah.
here a couple years ago. So we fixed it here a couple years ago with some piping up there.
Yeah, but,
With all that, and then now it's resurfaced, and now it's fixed again. So-
we put drainage pipe.
Right,
Yeah,
right. We
but
tried.
The problem was that there was leaks in the city water. And like I said, you know, I contacted Bob Sidus, when this all come by, and found out it was city water. And like I said, I want to give him credit. He took care of it. He got the engineer that was working out here for the street project, took him up there to the listening devices, and they actually found 3 leaks. There's 2 on Hill Avenue, and I think there's 1 going down.
Good.
And Hill Avenue could be done, you know, with everything that's been done.
And we have to look, not only,
No, but I'm just saying that.
yeah, right, the severity of the damage to the streets and the traffic that's on it
Right.
also.
Right,
I mean, those both have to come into play.
right, but I'm just saying, you know, Hill Avenue is a mess just because of all the salt that was put on it this year.
Okay.
You know,
The sooner the better for that.
right,
I meant for the determining the streets.
Yeah.
but like I said, Cleveland, this is a sad one, and then the one over the weekend. And that would probably be enough with the, you know, with the money right there.
Anything else? Buildings.
Building, we had met, I should say we, Henry and I and Senate Engineering, Infinity Crane, had met up there a couple of days after the last meeting. We went over, you know, the concerns we have as a borough. Henry pointed out some pretty good concerns that he had, and we went over the building pretty well, I think. You know, there was some areas there that, you know, got pointed out that they ended up doing some more work, changing a few things over, and you know, after it was done, I think Henry and I were pretty happy with the way it came out. So, as far as I know, the building final touches is probably Saturday. When they put the railing up front.
They did that already.
Yeah, I said their final touches was up there on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
They may have to, and I didn't know, Henry, if you got a chance to talk to him, but there's some piping. Remember we talked about on that punch list, the drain pipes.
Oh, raising the drain lines.
Raising the drain lines. They're not raised yet either, and they're supposed to fill in. And she said she was coming back. I didn't get a chance to talk to her, but the street person did. I met with him today. That they're coming back and topsoil in between the sidewalks in the back, and then around the other side. They're going to try to bring, I think, 2 inches of topsoil in around that. I don't know what they brought in already, so whatever they brought in and they got to finish, they might have brought 2 in, so if they did, I don't think they want in. But I'm assuming they're going to bring it right up to where we put the catch basins. The catch basins are in the ground. They shot a laser today, so it's a proper drainage on that. Did you notice that, Henry?
No, but
Yeah.
I haven't been around.
Okay, well, they did stick the catch basins in. You know, as far as that sidewalk's done, I don't know, I haven't been inside to see if they did anything with the pictures and stuff like that there, because they said they were gonna hang the pictures. But if not, you know, pictures.
Knobs on the cabinets.
Yeah, cabinets and then the microwave.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, we're ready to go, clean it up, get a meet and greet, have a ribbon cutting. And with that in mind, Michelle, or Nancy brought some suggestion up a little earlier about Michelle Cogley. You want to go ahead and explain it?
Well, I request that Michelle be on the committee for the meet and greet, because she's been a major part of the whole program, you know, through. And she was instrumental in having all of our time capsule items, you know, framed, and they will be on the walls. And plus, we have talked in the past, different suggestions, you know, as to what we might have that day, how extensive it will be, whether we would like to have a signature book for everyone to sign as they go through. Some type of a program as they could possibly keep as a souvenir, things like that. But anyways, we want to get together. We talked about this past weekend, but nothing to do with it. So we just need to set a date and get together and make our plans. We need to do some advertising.
We're gonna have to have a
Deciding
final walkthrough before you do any of that.
Right, well, we gotta get an occupancy. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay.
No, the only, what Henry was talking about is I think Marty from, is it Versa? What's the name? Yeah, it used to be Guardian. Veritas.
Veritas.
He has to give us an occupancy permit. And from talking to him, the day we had talked to him, I mean, yeah, he came right after you had left, and I was standing there talking to Mike Malak, but, you know, as far as the occupancy permit, us getting in there and getting the stuff done, we have to get done to prepare the building for an opening. There's no problem. I mean, we just gotta get the general occupancy permit, the whole meeting and stuff there, so I'll get over it here by the end of the week.
Can I say something?
Okay.
But instead of trying to pick a date out of the air, why don't we just wait till we get in there, get settled, then have something?
Well, we'd like to have because I mean, I think everything in the building itself around, I mean.
Yeah, but we're trying to put something together here that we don't know when it's gonna be done.
It's done.
No, but I mean, done to be in it.
Well, I mean,
they're putting that, sewer in now. Well,
it's done.
well, it's not covered up yet. I wouldn't buy it tonight then. It's not covered.
They gotta push it in tomorrow. I mean,
But then you gotta have to get topsoil in here and get some
right.
grass planted.
Jim, I don't know if anybody's ever mentioned a date yet.
Yeah, but we're
Yeah,
trying,
we kind
we're
of
trying to
considered
plan
maybe
something,
around
but
the end of July.
Well, the only way to get the things organized to where we can get it to where we wanna be is start to prepare now. That's why I think Michelle would be a good team member on that.
I'm
because she's
not
been through it.
saying about that. I'm just saying, I think we're trying to move too fast here.
Right.
Let's wait till we get in there and go from there.
This is kind of the last meeting before I expect to have to be in the next building. You know what I mean?
Well, we need is a final inspection, walkthrough, make
Yeah,
sure
you can get
you can
things
get the occupancy permit.
organized and then have,
If you
you know what I
can't
mean,
get
get
in before
everything organized and then you
Then
put
set
your
a
date
date.
onto it.
That's
Right.
right.
You
Well,
know,
Start
but-
working on it.
Yeah.
Right, and at this point, what I'm trying to suggest is that we do, you want you and Michelle to go ahead and organize that, or you want more than, well, I'll be
Yes,
with
and
you.
you were going
Yeah,
to do it
yeah,
with
I'll be
us
there.
too.
Yeah.
Michelle, are you still,